Today we're here to talk to some very important people who are not just part of my inner circle, they are part of my hidden circle. So these are two ladies who work really closely with me and who basically make me who I am and make me the best version of myself. They don't really want to do this. I've absolutely had to force them to do this. So this could be interesting, really. If it looks like that they are being sellotaped, wired or tied to the chair, it's probably because they are. But let's just see how we go. So first off, we're going to talk to Abi Rennison, who I've known now for about 8 years, and we'll explore kind of how we work together and how we know each other. And then I'm going to talk to McCaskill, who is a lady that I normally say is the one behind the camera. So yeah, let's see how we go. Nervous?
Yeah.
Behave. You're tied into that chair so you can't move.
I think this is maybe going to be like the most edited podcast of the entire series. So
David Daft, of course it won't be. Of course it won't be. We are used to talking every day, all day. It's what we do.
Yeah.
So there's no difference. We've been talking to each other every day.
There's people there.
Yeah, it's usually you that's there. So now I feel sorry for the people who've sat in the chair all this time.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, you've got respect for them, haven't you?
Yeah, totally.
We've been talking for 8 years, every day, pretty much.
Yeah, but multiples of times a day as well.
Yeah, so why is today any different? Just relax. Just relax. Breathe. Okay, so we have known each other for 8 years. We've worked together in 2 organisations.
Yeah.
And I first met you, you interviewed to be a PA.
Yeah, I was.
For me at a time when I worked at Places for People. And you'd had a long career as an EA.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that. What got you into that space?
I actually don't know what I wanted. When I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I just saw when jobs were advertised in the newspaper, it was the Telegraph and Argus in Bradford, Telegraph and Argus. And there's a little posting in there for an office junior. And I thought, oh yeah, I could probably do that. So I'd done A-levels and thought, yeah, I quite like the sound of that. So off I went for my interview. And I got the job. And at that time, God, I don't even know when it was, like late 90s. I was paid £8,000 per annum and I thought I was it. I had some money coming in, I was still at home. But yeah, and so it just kind of went from there really. And as an office junior, I did so much of the stuff that you kind of expect at that level really, just the errands, the running around, the doings, the tea making, being wherever I needed to be, doing whatever I needed to do for whomever needed it. And it was at the airport and I walked miles through the airport every day doing stuff. But everyone kind of knew me, they knew who I was because I was everywhere. And I kind of quite liked that. And I liked the feeling it gave supporting people. And then it just grew and grew from there. So I just kind of promoted up through the admin ranks. So yeah, I just went from one to the next and had a really enjoyable time doing it.
So that's quite unusual, isn't it, in a way, that at that time in your career when you've just done your level, so you're 18, and you find something that you absolutely love, and you do love this, don't you? You know? I mean, I'm not kind of saying you love this, don't you? No, you do actually.
I do actually love. I love this. I feel like I'm doing the job I was meant to do. I think this was what I'm meant to be doing.
It does feel like that. It feels like it is your calling. But I mean, we can get into this a little bit later. But I guess people will have a view, won't they, of the role of the PA and the role of the admin, that it is quite a seen and not heard style role, that you are behind. You are the hidden circle. You are there. You just said the world to support. And you do that. But you do so much more as well. You've kind of crafted this career, this role, I mean, to the point now that I often joke, don't I, that you've rendered me useless. The only thing I actually do on my own now is choose what I wear. and the rest of it you kind
That's
of
pretty much.
yeah, exactly. The rest of it you do for me. But no, I mean, joking apart, but you have done that and you've crafted this role. So you talked about being an office junior in the 90s. Here we are in 2025, and you're a chief of staff. Is what you are, and we run a 17 million turnover, no, 80 million turnover business now, and you are at the head of that. Nothing happens without you knowing about it.
Yeah, that's true. So you're right. I mean, going back, I did carve out the role. I kind of learned very quickly that I wanted to just do more than the day job, and so I've always just tinkered with things. I spend a lot of time, most evenings, just in the online world, just reading and doing and watching. And yeah, I'm buying clothes as well, but I'm looking for things that I think pique my interest or might be useful one day, or I might need that in the future, and it takes me off down lots of different paths. Like one of the really kind of the other things was when iPhones, iPads became a thing, and I'd started tinkering with videos and and creating little in-house videos, and that piqued my creativity, and then I was able to bring that into the job that I do in a number of different ways. And so and there's always been something like that. I've always just done more, I guess, than expected, and not necessarily because anyone's asked me to. I just wanted to kind of broaden my horizons, really. But I've still stayed within this in the EA and the exec support world. But a lot of what I do is very hidden. Yeah, I mean, the role is probably like not understood by a lot of people. If you've never had an EA, you perhaps you wouldn't get it. I mean, those that know. And I think from
if you know,
from the outside looking in, you would just see like somebody that manages emails and writes letters and does the diary. But there's so much more that goes on behind. There's things that absolutely people don't see, and it's hard to kind of articulate what those things are anymore, because we're all really instinctive now. It's all a fear. I just crack on and do.
So when you're on holiday and you meet somebody for the first time and they say, "Oh, hi, Abby, nice to meet you," what do you do? What do you say?
I always say I'm a PA. That's all I say.
And then what do they do? They go, "Oh, okay," and like move on.
Yeah.
Does that frustrate you, or do you just not care?
Oh, I don't think I do care, because I know, and you know, and I know that you know, and I know that, that the inner circle knows. So the people, like I said, the people that know and really get it. No, and so it doesn't bother me so much that people think that I'm some sort of servant, but actually I'm not, and
you're the boss.
Shouldn't come. Well, it's service, isn't it? It's service, not being a servant. It's not subordination. It's giving a level of support, but it's also a little bit of leadership, because it's like it's a glue, isn't it? I'm a glue when I bring people together and we stick things together. So yeah, that's a form of leadership, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's more than that, isn't it? And I think we've talked about this for a long time. You just totally underestimate the impact, and I know I'm going to have to be really careful, because you're going to cry in a minute. I just know that you're going to get emotional, and because you don't like talking about yourself, you spend your whole time supporting others, and that's what you do, which is your point about service. And it's really interesting, isn't it? We work in an environment where we're in a purpose-driven organisation. We are, so our whole raison d'etre is about supporting people, supporting each other, but you support the people who support the people who support the people. It is that stuff. And you talk about, I like that. It's not a servant, it's service. And I know we've joked before, haven't we, about Downton Abbey?
You've been Lady Mary.
And I'm Lady Mary. And Anna. But actually, I think it's the other way around. You're Lady Mary and I'm Anna. Because I have to try and think, I would be rendered useless without you. No, you but we see it. And this is a really new point, don't we? Because we experience that some of our colleagues who are, and our leadership team, for example, who are really up against it, if they don't have that support that you can give, which is much more than administrative, it's much more, it's emotional support, it's planning, it's forward looking, it's interpreting and understanding and really kind of horizon scanning what needs to happen and what is going to happen, and therefore kind of risk prevention, risk mitigation,
early warning trigger,
all of those things. And if you if the people and some really, we've got some amazingly talented people that we've worked with over the years, but if they haven't had that support that you've got, and I've also had experience where I've had, support that's not been ideal either, and therefore that, that can be challenging. So I think, it does, you do kind of underestimate, I think, your abilities.
Because it's so very natural, and I wonder whether, because what I do feels so natural to me, and it's kind of really intuitive now. I find it hard to really articulate to people what I do, and and I'm trying to almost train and coach other people. I'm like, well, how can I train something that is just like inbuilt in me? And I kind of never really thought what I do with. I know it's special, like what I do and how I support people, but I guess I never really thought it was all that special. It was just me being who I am and being very natural.
So that's the best people, though, isn't it? The people who are the most talented people don't shout about it or see it as a talent. Yeah. It's just this thing that's inherently in them that they just do, and that's you. Yeah. Your ability to do all those things that we've just described, to absolutely be so organised to the point of sometimes pedantry, to be fair. Just say it. But no, joking.
Well, I did wonder if the conference-zilla thing might come out.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, we've talked again before, and I think I've talked on the podcast about, I'm a great believer that your strength can also be your challenging areas. If it flips or if it becomes heightened, if your stress levels become heightened, then you can flip what is an absolute kind of strength to you can become, part of your challenge. Yeah. And so for you are absolutely organised and planned, and for me that's bloody marvellous. But then there are times that becomes
somebody wants to change that plan.
Oh God.
No.
Oh God, I've been at the wrath of that person.
Not many times though.
The
wrath does not come up Earth.
Up Earth. But when it does up Earth, it comes. Yeah, you say that, but we still go on that same roller coaster after 8 years. We still do it. So explain then. So explain to everyone how this manifests.
Well, I was thinking back to the early days when we started, didn't we, doing conferences? I mean, they probably were always there. It's just when I joined the business, I obviously got involved. So, we would run these conferences for our colleagues, the annual conference. And again, that gave me time and space to use my creativity and kind of produce those events, and I guess take them up a gear. We did things like musical walk-ons, and we created this little video content, and everything was like planned by the minute. We had to, have to follow the timetable. And then I guess it was like a real self-awareness moment too, though, because what I learned, but I've probably always known, is that I'm just terrible at delegating and asking other people to do things for me. So, but I guess those events...
like doing your appraisal. This feels like deja vu.
Those type of events just, I guess, really kind of sparked a shift in how I saw the role, and, and wanted to kind of develop my career and develop in the role. So yeah, the delegation and the asking for help. It's not, I can ask for help. Of course I can. I just cannot delegate for toffee.
I agree. I cannot lie. But what I would say is you own stuff. So you are one of the people that I know that we talk a lot about accountability, responsibility and roles in leadership, and more so recently, because it becomes more prevalent and important. That the more challenges that you face, it's more important that people understand what the ask of them is and what their level of accountability is. And you always own whatever you do, and so therefore, because you own it, you will own it to the absolute nth degree, and you find it very difficult to delegate that. I also think you find it difficult to delegate because you always worry that other people are very busy, and therefore you see it that you are
putting
asking,
on them.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas you and I differ in this view, because I think it empowers and it encourages, and so I don't don't think either is right or wrong. They just feel that, you know, and I've stopped telling you now. I've stopped writing it on appraisal forms to people.
Because sometimes in life, Debbie, you have to accept the things you cannot change. And we've tried.
You're absolutely right. You see, and this is what I've just said. Who is the boss and who isn't? This is what I do as I am told. Like, 100% do I ever do as I'm told. So where do you see the role of the, because I don't even like it. I mean, we now call them strategic partners, don't we? Well, business partners, because that's what you and your team do for us as an exec colleague group, and it's brilliant. You're our strategic business partners, and that's exactly what you do. But with the advent of AI and such like, because I know you're a real user of AI. Where do you see this kind of going?
Well,
does it worry you?
No, it kind of excites me. I suppose it worries me a little bit in that I don't want to lose a skill that I have for, that I feel I have for writing and constructing documents and using words and language. I've run a lot of things through Copilot for just a bit of a test, really, but I do start to use it like more and more every day now, but I don't want it to take, I guess, my personality away from what I write. But I know AI learns. It's learning about me. It's learning how I articulate things. So yeah, but I do think it's just an incredible tool right now. And I know we're still only really scratching the surface of it. But it is helping us be more efficient. It's an aid for particularly for minute taking, which as an EA and the EAs listening will know that's the job for the bottom of the list. It's the thing that you'll leave until you absolutely have to do it. But it's really helping me and the team, particularly around just churning those things out faster. And actually we can participate more in the meeting because we're listening, because it's hard to be in the meeting, hear what's going on, you're writing it down, if you're typing your notes up, you're correcting your typos as you go, and you're not always fully tuned in and fully present. And I think you can set Copilot running and it allows you to do that, and you've got safe in the knowledge that it is being captured. There's a transcript there and it's word for word, and it will really help you deliver that output in a really professional way. So that's, it's really helping me, and there's so much more it can do. But that's right now where it's giving me the biggest value. But yeah, we do call our people exec business partners, and I do, and for a number of years now, have a view that it's just a more modern way of working. It used to be really hierarchical, didn't it? It was a bit like you were a bit of a servant many years ago. That's just how the role was seen and probably felt sometimes. But the world's changed and moved on, and I like the partnering aspect of it now. Of course there is a hierarchy, but I don't feel it, I don't see it, I don't experience that.
But there isn't, is there? I mean, we've tried a long time.
Yeah.
I suppose hierarchy is a perception thing, isn't it? And people like hierarchy sometimes as well. It's seen as a positive thing because people know, who's the boss, and people like that. We try and move away from that, but for you, I think, and your team, that partnering piece is really key. And I see the value that you and your team add across the business. It's like, it's flipping marvelous, and when you guys are not around, it's really noticeable.
It
is totally noticeable. So you are such a huge part of the fabric of the vision of the organization and the delivery suites as to where we are across and you cross so many departments as well, don't you? And so many projects, and you see so much and have to juggle so much. It's
feel like it's a massively privileged position, isn't it? Because who else really in the business gets to do that, to sit in the rooms, to see how businesses are run, but really run and hear everything you hear. It's a really privileged position, and you've got to hold a lot of information. Of course you have, but that's what I love. I thrive on kind of just being in that room, and it's not even a power thing. I just want to be there, and because I know that I can be helpful. So I do love my job. I am.
So what would you? So if this was an advertisement then for strategic business, so executive business partners, what would you be saying to people now who are looking to leave school like you were, but actually don't know what to do, don't want to go to university, don't want to come out with a huge debt, probably want to get into business, don't really know where they want. What would you?
Well, I would absolutely say try it, but if you can work a computer, like you can do this job. Yes, from day one you're not going to know everything, but it really just needs somebody with. You just need somebody that can manage a diary, particularly because it's all learnable. You just need to be bright and have the skill and the want and the desire to support people but do a really good job. And
what would they get out of it?
Well, they would. I suppose. Well, they hopefully would get what I get, which is just a real sense of pride in seeing, like, in just making someone else's day a bit better, but making my day better too. So yeah, I would. Yeah, that's not going to encourage anyone to do this job, is it? But I need to think as well. I can't think on it. If I have to write a job advert, I'm going to have to sit and write it and think about it.
So we might come back then with that. Okay. Ideas. I mean, to be fair, when you wrote it would be amazing.
It would be amazing, but I'd have the time to really think, and then I'd have Copilot. And
oh yes, yeah, half-edged Copilot. Yes, yeah, for sure. So I guess the other bit about your role is relationships, isn't it? So if you think about it, there aren't many roles where, I mean, there's always teamwork, don't get me wrong, and we build teams, and great teams who work together thrive and reach their heady heights of success and stuff, and we've seen that for sure. But your role, you have to have a one-on-one relationship with the person that you work with. How does that feel at times? Is it frustrating? I mean, we can do this now. Like, no one's listening. It's just me and you. Yeah.
No, it's not frustrating. I think it does. It takes a little bit of time to trust one another. Although, to be fair, I feel like you kind of trusted me from day one, and I can talk a little bit about that. I was kind of ready for that maybe discussion, but I think relationships you kind of find your way for a bit. It's a little bit tense, and you're not really sure, but you just be a really nice person, and what can I do, and how can I help, and then over time it just builds and builds and builds, and so much so that we kind of end up speaking in code now, don't we, these days? Or it's just a look or a glance, and again it's intuitive, isn't it? I almost know. So mostly I kind of know what take you're going to have on something that you see or hear, because I've learned how you operate.
So when you say it like that, so you're a version of Copilot, aren't you? In that kind of sense. So, as someone we know very well who's sitting on the other side of the camera, we talk about prompt engineering. So that's obviously what you've been doing all these years is we've been slowly prompt engineering each other, that now you go, yeah. Either that, or I'm just so boring that you just know what it is that I'm going to say and think each time.
Yeah, and then I think, and I use my skill to kind of work out the best moment to share something with you that I've found out, or but we share a lot. We share pretty much everything, as you alluded to earlier. But also, there's always been like this line that we've never crossed. So we're colleagues, we're friends, and we'll always be friends. And we do tell each other everything in a work sense, and sometimes personal as well. But there's always this weird line that we've never crossed that, have we? There's always been that respect, and that real professional boundary. But we've never really even spoken about that. It's just an intuitive thing that we have, isn't it? Now.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah. And you're right. I don't think we've ever spoken about it, but as you do talk about it there, I think, we both have respect for each other. I think, and it is a partnership, and it is a total and utter respect thing that I know that I could not do the job that you do, and that I know what you do to enable me to do the job that I do. And not just me, but the rest of the organisation. And not just the organisation. Now it's like my family, it's my friends. It's like, I mean, you sold my father's mobility scooter for him on Facebook Marketplace. Like, you are everywhere. You literally, thank God. Thank the Lord. Now, I mean, my whole family, like, we're all having dinner tonight because it's my brother-in-law's birthday 2 days ago, and it's mine next week. So we've all got dinner tonight, and you'll come up in conversation. Can I be doing? In fact, my sister has asked you to book hotel rooms for her, hasn't she, this week? Which is like, which makes us sound like a whole bunch of divas. It's not that.
It's not, but I do it gladly. It's just in service of others.
You're just good at it, though. You negotiate and get great deals and all of this. This is why we're all like, Abs will do that.
I never feel put upon. I do
you not though? No, but seriously, because I do think about that very often. Is there ever times that you do think, sick in it?
No, I don't, because I know, like, I've got such a lot to thank you for. So no, I don't feel ever put upon. I just do it willingly.
And you do it willingly. You always do, I never, well, apart from conferences when you're being like,
and I'm being a madam.
When you're being conference diva, and you'll go off and you'll do it all. And then like 2 days before we're about to do the conference, you'll finally tell me what it is that you're planning. And then I go, oh, well, what about this? And then we explode. And that's the only time, isn't it, that we have the moment. But no, I am conscious about the put upon thing, because I suppose it's like anything, isn't it? Things grow, and because you are just so kind and so supportive and just so enabling and keen to help and stuff. I mean, I suppose there's a bit of an elephant in the room, isn't there? And say, like, I'm going to get emotional now. That we currently have like an 86-line spreadsheet for the fact that I have another adventure coming up and our lives will change. Can you do this on screen? Can you actually do this? This is ridiculous. And so, you are being immensely helpful in that world, including for those people who remember my podcast with my husband. You are now giving him lists.
Yes, yeah, Mark has a list, yeah.
Yeah, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm now being passed tissues from the people behind, from the borrowers, the other side of the. Do you want one? Shall we share tissues?
Let's open the.
Well, I can't even open them. So no, I've done it. I've done it now. I've wrecked it. So
it is honestly, and not to change the subject, but I do cry a lot. And like just at the most random things as well. Like I cry when I see other people cry.
Oh yeah. Well, ditto.
I cry at the news, at flipping wildlife programs. Like if there's an animal in peril, I'm like, they better not show that. Or I'm writing to the BBC. I just at the most random things, I cry. I'm not worried about it so much that I feel like I need help. But again, it's just, I don't know. It's just, and I can't switch it off either. And I don't know if that's the same for you, or just if they're going to come, they're going to come, and I've got to let them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh no, completely. I've given up. Like trying to save the tears. It's I don't know if it's a woman thing or a hormonal thing or just a. Yeah, I like to think it's because we're highly emotionally intelligent. Yeah. That's what I can't tell myself.
It's like for me, it's like this whoosh. It just happens. It's like this whoosh of emotions that come to the surface like so quickly that you can't even prepare yourself for it.
Well, we talked about this, didn't we, years ago? Do you remember? We were somewhere and we'd done some work and you were getting really upset about something. And I remember saying to you, I was really worried about your well-being and stuff. Do you remember? And stuff, we talked about it. But I think it's part of you, isn't it? And it is part of you.
We can't apologise for it. We are just, and like part of me thinks it doesn't need to be explained, does it? It's just like we're just human beings doing what human beings do, and it's just it's interesting and lovely and unique, and we just don't have to explain it, do we?
No, we don't. But I think what we should explain is that, because it's making us sound like we sit at work and cry every day. We do not sit at work and cry every day. In fact, I can't remember the last time that we actually cried. I think at the moment we are very heightened because we have an 86-line spreadsheet because of Operation Sydney, and so I think we're in that state. So I think we should give ourselves a bit of a break. But we do not want everyone listening to this thinking
we're not wailing.
Yeah, the highly functioning lunatics, because it's like, no, who sit and cry every day? No, that isn't the case. And absolutely not. So, yeah. So where do you see yourself kind of heading with this now? Where do you want your career to really go?
Well, in terms of the career trajectory in this profession, it really is chief of staff, isn't it? It's because I just
it's up to Donald Trump. No?
Yeah, well, yeah. If
you
maybe
could sort him out,
yeah.
Well, if you sorted me out, maybe you could sort him out. Craig.
But I think that's kind of feels like to have that role would be the next natural step, because I genuinely can't see myself doing anything else at this point.
So you're so good at it. Then you shouldn't have to.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's it. But I'm happy where I am. I've told you, I'll go to the ends of the earth for you, but I just cannot literally go to the ends of the earth and be in Australia.
Yeah, but we know why, don't we? Tell everybody why.
It's a cat, isn't it?
It's the cat. It's the cat. Yeah, exactly.
It's not the husband, it's the cat.
Oh, well, totally. It's not me. It's not the husband. It's not your mother or the father. It is the cat. We all know our place.
My furry child.
Yeah, we all know, but you fluffy baby. We know how this works. So, under no illusion.
I think I'll stay doing this job because I love it. And
well, so you should.
And
because you're amazing at it.
Yeah. And I have to kind of almost, I guess, start again within a new relationship with a new boss or bosses. I don't know, but
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'll have to kind of just crack on now, which is what I do. I'll absolutely miss you to pieces, but we're at a point now where we'll always be in touch. We'll always be friends. I'll always still be there if you need to call, but in terms of where we work now, I'm there. I want to stay and see what happens there. And
well, they need you.
Yeah.
And do you think that's part of it as well? Do you think
to be needed?
Yeah. Do you think? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. Mm-hmm. I mean in a way that's part of your makeup, is that you want to be needed.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. I want to be helpful, and I like to feel needed, and but that's really nice. I feel like that's a really nice place to be, and don't really know what else to say on that. It's I've had a really great career up to point. You've massively helped me in it. And you took you did. I felt like you took a real chance on me, just going back to something I mentioned earlier with, before I even started the job, when you offered me the job, I had to have like a really risky conversation, which could have meant that the offer of employment was withdrawn because of like how I'd left my previous employers. It like kind of left in a really complex way, and my choice to leave. Just saying, but I knew the reference from them wouldn't be brilliant, and you took a real. I felt like you needed to know that the reference might not be brilliant, and you took a real chance on me. You obviously saw something in the interview, and and I kind of thank.
Well, you were nice for a start, which was a flipping miles step forward from what I'd had experienced previously, and I will say no more, but you were, as I thought, oh, she's lovely. I thought, oh God, that's nice. And I could also tell that you were incredibly talented, and you had left your previous employee, that there was an issue, but actually that wasn't anything to do with you, was it? So, and it wasn't anything to do with you or your talent, it was just a circumstance that you were in.
I wasn't really growing back there, and you took a chance, and it's taken my career off in a I say a different direction. It's still the same job. And perhaps on paper, it was a bit of a step back. So my career actually hasn't been all that linear. But I took a step back to grow, and that massively paid off, didn't it? Mm. Well, I feel it did. Anyway, it did.
No, it paid off for me, like in leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it did. And then you took another risk, that when I left the organisation that I was at, then you were prepared to leave to come with me, because I think it was very obvious to everyone that we were a team and a unit. Yeah, exactly. And if it wasn't for the cat, we would be another one even now. But hey, Tom Lee Parker. Yeah, indeed. Look, I know you didn't want to do this, and I know that you were nervous about it, but For me, I've been talking for the last 12 months about the inner circle and the importance of an inner circle when you're in a leadership role, or just when you're trying to run a business and navigate the complexities. And I think that we've left this, we've put it off, I guess. And but yeah, within the inner circle, there is a hidden circle, which is the nucleus. And, you are absolutely, you are that. So, yes, that's, and on that note, because I'm such an ugly crier, I'm going to leave that and just say a huge thank you. And, I will get you out to Australia, I will.
Yeah, I'll be there.
You know.
Thank you, Debi. Thank you.
Well, the Louboutins, aren't they? Are they Louboutins?
Oh my gosh. Are we recording now? Oh,
I'm not talking about shoes. So, Vic McCaskill, you've just sat in that chair and you've just said, I don't want to sit here.
No. I'm much more comfortable in the corner, just kind of enjoying the conversation and listening to what everybody's got to say.
And also, not just doing that, but making things happen, because you've sat there and this is the second take we've had to do because the cameras weren't rolling the first time.
I know.
Yeah.
I obviously need to be there to nudge the other person behind the camera.
Yeah, see? Because you are the hidden circle. Clearly, you're part of that heart, really are at the heart of that hidden circle. So why didn't you want to sit and talk to me today?
I'm always happy to talk to you. I love talking to you. It's an absolute pleasure, but I think it's a different scenario when you've got the camera, you've got the microphone, and it's for something like a podcast. It just is very different.
Okay, I'm going to push this right back at you then, because it's you that encouraged me. I'm going to be even pushier than that made me start these podcast series, that made me, introduced me, told me that, I am what Google says I am. We've spoken about that before. We've spoken to Simon, your husband, before. And so is it poacher turned gamekeeper then? Or is it like one rule for one rule for another? How does this work?
You really have got me there. I can't. What can I say to that? That's a really difficult one. I do realise it's very difficult for me to tell you to do things and then not want me want to do it myself. So yeah, you've totally got me. But
if your boys ever listen to this, then your children are going to go, you see, she tells us to do something, but she wouldn't do it herself.
But I think it's about with you, Debi, and when we first met you, it was really understanding your story and understanding your platform and your presence and how far we could push it, quite frankly. And you were always so open and creative, and we've loved doing this because you've been so open and creative, and you've let us really push the boundaries. You've opened that door into your professional world to the rest of the world, and given them a real insight. And I don't think it is something that everybody does. I think, there's lots of podcasts out there and there's lots of, people writing books and things. But I think with you, it's always felt really genuine and human, and people have really wanted to connect with you. And you've always had something really, insightful to say or fun to say. And you've really brought the humour and the human element to it. And that's why this has been so, I guess, easy in a way. It's just been so much fun.
Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate it. But it wasn't easy at the beginning.
No,
it
wasn't
at all. And I mean, all of that makes it sound like, oh yeah, it just all kind of just comes natural, and it doesn't. You know that. And it was meeting you and Simon, who it was then, what is my brand? What, as a leader, you have a responsibility to some extent to have that brand, and I didn't even have a Facebook account, so I was not comfortable with it. But why do you think that today's world, as leaders and stuff, that we do need to do that? And what do you think is the good and bad of having like a social media presence or being more visible to the world? Does that make sense? Is that
Yeah,
right?
that makes perfect sense. Like, you were never going to be a Facebook person. That's just not you and your brand. It's about connecting with your audience and kind of telling your story, but telling it on your terms, you know, kind of like controlling that narrative. And that doesn't necessarily mean building barriers or just kind of going with the surface information. It's about really crafting and really thinking about what it is you want to say, why you want to say it. A lot of people just talk for the sake of talking, don't they? It's, you know, the so what. We have a lot of conversations about, well, what's the so what in this? Yeah. Why are we saying this?
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that's probably remained really important throughout this whole process. I mean, we're talking about maybe 6 years now of online presence, going from maybe a little bit of Debi on Google to now quite a well-built presence that you have crafted and controlled in your own way and let people in. And I think that's a really wonderful thing.
But with you, like, honestly, it's like, it makes it sound like it's me. It isn't. This is the whole point of this podcast and the Inner Circle series. It isn't just me that does that, though, is it?
No.
Yeah, we sit there together and we kick it around. Once I started to feel comfortable with it, and I would have the, what people, oh God, people got really interested in that. What if that upsets people? What if, like, am I being preachy? Yeah, we have all of this, and it's you that's been the critique of that, the guidance of that, the creative person behind that's sort of supported me. But and so this is just so important that people understand that it's not me that does all this.
I think that is important to understand, in the sense of, like, this just didn't happen overnight.
No.
But it is you doing it because it's translating your messages and your stories. And I think without those foundations, without that experience, that knowledge, like, none of this would be possible. But I actually listened back the other day to some of the early Styling It Out podcasts where, like, I think I asked some of the questions. Simon did a bit of the asking of the questions, because you were in a place where you were like, can't possibly do this. But you got there. And but I think that shows real kind of growth and depth and, like, brand evolution, Oh,
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that, and this is why this whole Inner Circle Beyond the Dots podcast series has been so important, to show that there has been evolution for sure, and a growth when I look back at who I was, where I'm going, what I've done, what I've achieved. But I flipping well know that that's because I've had this group of really amazing people around me who have helped me do that. And, you and Simon and Abi, have absolutely been there to encourage me to do that, because I would have never done it. I would never have done it. And I have social anxiety.
Yes.
We've talked about, I really have massive social anxiety. I hate public speaking, but you've helped me to become a much better public speaker. I hate putting things out on social media that people are going to look at and potentially judge, or not just judge, but think, well, why has she got an opinion? What's that? We don't want to hear from her. All of that imposter syndrome stuff that goes through you. But what you managed to do was to convince me that if I don't do it, someone else will have a narrative on me anyway, so therefore control the narrative, which I've said when we did the podcast with Simon. And with that, I can now publicly speak. So because we had a conversation, didn't we, recently, about, we sat down 5 years ago, and you asked me what were my goals, and what did I say?
You said you wanted to be on a stage, didn't you, in front of hundreds of people speaking, which at that time, when you said to me, I also have social anxiety, just felt really crackers. But also, I totally got it, because you have always been about people and helping people and making a difference, and have it, like, the way that you connect with people is magical. People of all backgrounds, of all, experiences, levels, environments, cultures. You love connecting with people, but at that time, and still now, I bet, if we said to you, right, this afternoon, you're going to go on the stage in Harrogate and talk to 1,000 people, you just
yeah, well, my heart rate would be like 275 beats per minute.
Yeah. But that was your vision.
I'd then be dead, obviously.
That was your goal. And that was your, like, that was a measure for success for the future. We did that in, was it 2019 we did it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was. Because we found a picture and
Yes.
I looked a lot slimmer. I was like, would you remember? I was really annoyed. So, yeah, anyway, menopause. Don't.
But, like, I totally saw that. And I understood why that was really important to you, even though, and I think this is probably why we've continued to do what we do, even though sometimes it's really hard, even though sometimes you're really nervous, we all get nervous about speaking up and talking. You've always done it with real purpose and you've done it for a good reason. And you've only spoke when you've needed to speak. Like the menopause story that you shared.
Yeah,
at quite a few different events now, like when you've talked about leadership, especially being a woman in the boardroom.
Yeah,
at various events, not to mention your award win.
Which again, I think you drafted the submission of that. So thank you. As I pack it and put it in my box, take to Sydney with me, I'll be like, yeah, thanks for that.
But you make it happen. You make it very easy to happen because, you know, you've got the experience, you know, kudos to you. You've done it. I'm
bored now of talking about me. It's like, seriously.
But coming back to that conversation, you mentioned Abi and us guys working together. We're only here really because of Abi, if you remember. So we met Abi at an event in Leeds. And you desperately wanted to speak to Simon about a speaker opportunity, wasn't it? And we couldn't get you together. I can't remember what happened in that breakout. And I was desperately trying to get you to Simon. And I thought, oh no, this is not going to happen. And then it did happen. And then Simon spoke at the Living Plus conference.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history. I mean, I remember sitting in the Places of People office with you, drafting out your big brand plan and
Yeah, definitely. And it is all that networking connection stuff that you say. It's like so important. You know, if I hadn't met Abi and then Abi met you and then, you know, Abi introduced me to you guys and then, you know, we've then worked collectively with Julie Fain, who's also been on this podcast where, you know, we've worked together. You have worked with Julie and me and Abi and Simon at Magenta, and we've created the purpose, vision and value, that whole kind of Road to 2030 strategy stuff. And so, yeah, and you think back and you think, oh my God, you know, when it was 2019 and we were sitting there and I was thinner and it was all sort of, you know, it was all lovely. So it's always about me, honestly. God. So, and now look, sort of, you know, where we are and now we're going flipping heck. I'm going to Australia and we've got to work out how we keep this connection going, which, yeah, we can talk about in a bit. But I want to talk, I genuinely want to talk about you. I want to talk about you and your career because I think you and Simon, I think you're flipping geniuses. But I do. I have meetings with you and I can be as you know, stressed some days, and you have this ability to elevate me and to alleviate that stress but to get me thinking creatively and I come out of them feeling like, well, like it's almost like I've been in some sort of exercise class because the endorphins are up. So where did that come from for you? Like, where did this career start from for you? Where did you go to and where are you now? Like, how did it evolve? Because it's quite unique what you do. Yeah. And I really want to talk about that. Not me, please.
Well, it's something I've been thinking about because of this podcast episode. Because
you're going to be sat down and tied to the chair.
But it's not really something you think about day to day, is it? No. You don't really think about why you got to this place until someone kind of stops you in your tracks and is about to ask you lots of questions. And I've been having conversations with Simon about this at home, and even I think he was a little bit surprised about what I said. But I think what I've always been quite in tune with, or what I've really, really enjoyed, and I almost take myself back to my childhood here, is I've always loved stories, like hearing stories, learning things. And I think I get a lot of that from my dad. So my dad's really, really good at telling stories. Sometimes they can go on for quite some time. But he's brilliant at telling stories. But he's also very good at listening to others and learning. Like, we'll go on holiday or we'll go to a football match and he'll be talking to everybody and he'll be soaking it. He's like a sponge. He'll soak it all up. And I think I'm a bit like that. In fact, I know I'm like that. Like, I remember going to football matches as a kid. I'm a Leicester City supporter for my sins from 11 years old. I know.
Bad week for you.
Bad week. But from 11 years old, I had a season ticket. My dad took me to my first game. And I couldn't tell you scores or anything, but I could tell you something that happened or a person we bumped into or a story about a player. And I don't know if you're aware of this. There used to be this TV show called Trans World Sport. I don't think it's a thing anymore. But in the late 80s, early 90s, it'd be on really early on like a Saturday or Sunday morning. And it was all about sports events, mainly around football. But it'd tell you stories about these teams from like all over the world. And me and my dad used to watch this. And one of the teams we used to listen out for was a team called Lens. They're in France. They're a coal mining community. And they had a football team that did really well and was really successful. But we became obsessed with it because we were like, we need to know more about this. You know, what is this football? How amazing is that? And it really stayed with us to the point where we're like, we still haven't been, but we're going to go. We're going to go to Lens. We're going to watch a game. But I think...
Please tell me you've been.
No, we are going. We need to go. We need to go. We haven't done it yet, but we have always said we need to do this. We're going to go and take that trip and do it because we were so obsessed by it. But I think that's what I am. I hear something or I learn something or I hear someone's story and I get quite obsessed and I want to know more. And I get really curious, which I know you're a big curious person.
Yeah.
And then you dive deeper. And I think this is massively like translated into like my work world. I work in marketing, but I would never consider myself your typical marketer.
No, you're not.
It's always been about the people or the story. And, you know, as humans, we all love stories, but I think they have that power to kind of entertain, but educate and spark creativity. And so that's kind of been the pattern throughout my career so far and has continued to be more so now that I work for myself. I'm freelance. I have worked in-house in in-house marketing teams. But even at that point, my obsession was what's the story? Where are we going with this? What are we telling people? And I just love stories. And I think, you know, I've learned so much from you in that aspect in terms of your career journey.
You're going back to me again. Can we like stop?
Well, okay, sorry, please. Sorry. But yeah, that is really why I do what I do, because I love stories so much. And I will come back to you, but only because there is a story related to this. But I was fascinated when you told me about your career journey from, you know, nursing to social care to housing. And you told us a story about your nursing belt buckle. And for me, I was just like, I can't believe that. That's amazing. You told the story about how you had this amazing elaborate belt buckle.
Yeah.
And then Veronica told us the same story. And then you turned up with it in one of our sessions.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's full circle for me. That's brilliant. Like, I see the value in that. I see the value in like how that one little kind of story or anecdote or memory really kind of tells you a lot about a person or where they were or where they were going or who they're like. And then I try and link it to their brand and what they're about. And that's kind of how my brain works. I know that might sound crazy.
No, I love it. And I mean, because I know you so well now, and I've known you for, as you said, 5-6 years, and I genuinely feel that we have a friendship as well. So I see that in you. But how have you made stories like really work for you successfully in a career? Because you've got such a great career, both you and Sam. You have your own business, you're incredibly well thought of. And I say you're flipping geniuses. So how have you gone from, because that sounds so lovely as you were explaining it. Oh, I love stories.
Yeah.
Yes, all right, you might love stories, but you've carved out this amazing career out of stories. So how has that, you've just talked about nursing to social care to housing. For me, that's quite clear. It's not necessarily linear, but it's clear. You're basically saying, I think, I went to university, I did marketing, I like stories, and now this is what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, and there's a bit of football in the middle.
Yeah.
So it can't
sounds simple, doesn't it?
No, it sounds crazy. So just tell me, how have you now become, like, to me, in my world, this like brand kind of sort of social content creator guru for me? How has that happened? Evolution, revolution.
Yeah.
What?
I think it's happened because I find a real purpose in it. And I know the storytelling bit is kind of like, I guess that's my red thread through all of this, in terms of I simply love stories and connecting with people. And my job has enabled me to do that across all of those things, from like starting at university. My first job, I worked in tourism. I designed package holidays that were history or music related. Again, I was never really, I don't really know a lot about classical music or history per se, but again, I found the story in it, crafted it, thought about the audience, thought about what they might like. And that was one of my first jobs, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was wonderful. It was one of the best jobs. And then kind of going more into like in-house marketing. I've always worked around brand and kind of positioning and thinking about what the business represents and the people and the culture. And when you think about that, that's all about, you know, who we are, what we do, why we do it. And you have to almost be the journalist there. Not that I'm a journalist, but you have to go and seek the answers to those questions.
You are a writer.
Yes. You have to seek those answers. And you're right. You then writing the stories for people. Much like, I guess, helping Magenta with their purpose, vision and values. You know, I didn't write it. The team, the
you
people
extract it though.
I think
got this
that's
inherent talent to extract stuff out, but
Yeah.
in like, you know, in a really lovely way that's just so gentle. And I don't know, maybe you should be a psychologist as well, because you know you just feel like you want to tell. When you're with it, you're like, yeah, I'll tell you everything, and then you do. You kind of extract out, and then you write. You then create this story.
I think that's where perhaps I'm quite a good listener. At home, I'm sure Simon will say I'm not probably the best listener. He's laughing now. But when it comes to kind of extracting and, you know, interviewing and finding out, I do really try to listen quite hard. And I really try to then translate in the voices of either those individuals or those organizations, what that story then looks like, what that brand looks like, what that narrative's like, and try and guide it. And that's what I've done in every kind of aspect, I think, of my work, whether it's been in-house or whether it's been as an external. I found it easier as an external. You were talking about, you know, when me and Simon come to you and you feel a bit kind of like, oh, it's kind of a breath of fresh air sometimes. I think that's probably the magic of not being in-house and not being there day to day, because you can kind of come in and ask the tough questions, or you can ask the, you know, the unexpected.
The why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can kind of probe deeper as well, because you've got that standpoint of, I am a little bit removed from this. Now, I know we work extremely closely, so and I have been with Magenta for a while, so I probably know a little bit more, but I do think that's a massive benefit of what I do now, is being that kind of one step removed, and really gives me the capacity to kind of go further, delve deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you do that, because you, as you said, you're very curious. So you have real curiosity, you have a high intellect. So you not only curious, you then process it, you listen. You are absolutely an amazing listener, because you know, sometimes I don't even know that you're listening, and you listen, and then you have this like ability to interpret as that individual. You get inside their head. It's a bit scary, really, when you think about it. Get inside your head, and then again, you're a bit like Copilot and AI, aren't you? Because it's like all of a sudden, I see something that I've written that I think, whoa, I've not written that, but I could have easily written that, because it's like you've written it as I speak. So, but that again is like a massive talent to do that, I think.
Yeah. I think it's a privilege though as well, because it's always been a privilege to write, and I'm not writing for you, I'm just translating what you tell me. But that's taken time to really understand your voice, you know, to learn how to interpret as Debi and how to interpret as, I don't know, an organization or another person. not everybody speaks in the same kind of language or the same kind of way. And I've always been really cautious and careful that whenever we present anything to you, it is true to who you are, you know.
No, you do that very well. And I'm sure, you know, I know you have other clients. So to do that as well. And when we're all such individuals and work in different spaces. And so the fact that you must have to wear many different hats and juggle or have lots of voices in your head as well at the same time, that'd be quite funny actually, wouldn't it? If you kind of wrote something for me that was a representation of some guy who worked in manufacturing or something like that. And it's like, and
you should do that.
And I go, whoa, what's this? Like, no, this is what Jeff would say, who is currently like, you know, making buses. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. That would be really good. So do you think you'll ever write a book? You like stories, you're great at writing, you're creative. Why would you not write a book?
I have thought about it a few times. But I think where I feel that I have real purpose is in that ability to help others to do that. It's not necessarily my story; it's the stories of others or the learnings from others. So
it could be a ghostwriter. You could be a ghostwriter,
or like more of a reflection piece.
Well, you are a ghostwriter, aren't you? For
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I've thought about in too much detail, but. Yeah, I guess I've not really thought about it in terms of ghostwriting, but yes, that's essentially what I am and what I do a lot of the time.
So I'm fascinated. At what point did you and Mr. McCaskill sit down and go, we're going to set up our business and this is what we're going to do and this is the purpose of it? And who was the one who came up with the kind of the brand idea, or who was the one who took each other through it, or who did the presentation of who, and who came up with the title Bear and Fly?
I'd like to say that it was really well planned, like we planned for everybody else. But as I think I'll liken this to like if you're a house builder. If you're a house builder, you make great houses and do things for other people. But when it comes to your own house, it's not that organised or it's not that well thought through. We've always had this desire to work for ourselves, to have that freedom to do and create and kind of be masters of our own destiny. I was still working in-house and I just had my second child
called Fox. Then like, right, we're going to create this business.
Simon took that brave step. I was still in-house. I'd had a baby. I went back to work. I was about to go back to work, sorry. And he'd already taken the leap before Fox was born and had gone freelance himself and had built up a really good client base and was thriving, doing really well. And so we'd always had this kind of like pipe dream, I guess, of like, let's just go and do it. And we were fortunate enough to be in a really good place that we could do it. So we said, right, let's do it ourselves. And it should sound more organised than that, but it literally as simple as like, let's just do it. And if it doesn't work, what's the worst that could happen? I'll just go back in-house, find a role, and you continue doing what you do.
What was it like working with your husband?
And I really enjoy it. We do stuff together and we still do stuff apart, which I think is like the happy balance. Yeah. Simon does far more other things with Google, etc. And that's his kind of separate world. So we do have that kind of, you know, there are separate entities and clients that we work with, which is really helpful, I think. But I think we've always, even if we weren't working together and if we weren't the team that we are now, even when we were working for other organisations, we'd always bring our work home and bounce ideas off each other. I would always say to Sam, what do you think about this? You know, what does this look like? Do you think it's going to work? Because that's how we always have worked as a team. So it just felt that really natural step. And it's obviously continued and paid off. So, and let's hope it does continue. Might not want to after this podcast episode.
Or another football season.
Yeah, it's true.
Bear and Fly?
Bear and Fly was Simon's brainchild, yes. So you'll have to ask him about that one.
Oh, okay, maybe I will. Maybe if I ever get him back in that chair, I will try my hardest to get him back in that chair, for sure. So, Vic McCaskill, producer, podcast producer, absolute listener extraordinaire, writer, creative content producer, marketeer. Just, yeah. What's next?
I honestly don't know, if I'm completely honest. I really love, much like what Abi was saying when I listened to Abi, I really love what I do. I feel like I get a real purpose out of it. It's what kind of gets me out of bed in the morning. So I absolutely will continue to do what I do now. And hopefully, I know we'll continue to kind of be friends and work together in various different capacities.
Just at different times of the day.
Yes. But yeah, I think it's going to be more of the same. But I would say one thing, thank you for inviting me to talk, because this has really made me stop and think about what I do, why I do it, and perhaps what I want to do next. And I think I might have a more compelling answer soon.
Next time. You nearly said next time. You nearly said next time.
Yeah.
To be continued.
To be continued.
Thank you.
Thank you.